What if doing nothing is the most important thing you can do? Your brain has been trying to tell you this for 200,000 years. Nobody is listening. Right now, somewhere in your city, someone is sitting in total silence with everything they could possibly need. Food, warmth, shelter, safety, and they are miserable. Not because something bad happened, not because anything is wrong, but because nothing is happening. And that feeling, that creeping, hollow, almost painful sensation of doing nothing, is trying to tell you something. Something your brain has been screaming for thousands of years. Something we have almost completely forgotten how to hear. You call it boredom. But the real answer is far stranger than that. Boredom is not a modern invention. It is not caused by smartphones or Netflix or the pace of the internet age. In fact, the moment you understand what boredom actually is, biologically, evolutionarily, neurologically, you will never think about it the same way again. Because boredom is not an absence of feeling. It is a signal. A very old, very urgent signal. And the way modern life has learned to silence it may be one of the most dangerous things we have ever done to ourselves. Let's go back. Way back. Not to ancient Rome or medieval Europe. Back to the African savannah roughly 200,000 years ago, where your direct ancestors spent their days doing something we almost never do anymore, nothing. Long, slow, uneventful stretches of nothing. A hunt would take hours. Foraging meant walking for miles with no guarantee of a result. There were no notifications, no entertainment queued up, no background noise to fill the silence. Just the hum of an environment that was mostly calm but could, at any moment, become lethal. In that world, your brain developed a very specific alarm. When the environment went quiet and nothing demanded your attention, something inside you began to stir. A low, itching restlessness. An urge to move, to explore, to look over the next hill. Your brain was essentially asking, is there something out there I should know about? Is there a threat I am missing? Is there food I have not found? Is there information I need? This is what researchers now call the boredom response. And according to Dr. Sandy Mann at the University of Central Lancashire, boredom is not an emotion you passively feel. It is an active push, a motivational state. Your brain forcing you to seek stimulation, to explore, to create, to solve. Mann's research showed that people who experienced boredom before a creative task actually performed better at that task, generating more ideas and more original ideas than people who had been kept busy beforehand. Boredom, it turns out, is one of the primary triggers of human creativity. It literally pushes your mind into open, roaming, exploratory mode, the mode where your best thinking happens. But here is where it gets complicated. Because that alarm, the alarm your ancestors relied on to survive, cannot tell the difference between ancient and modern. It fires the same way in a prehistoric savanna as it does on your couch on a Tuesday afternoon. And here is the problem. We have built an entire civilization devoted to silencing it. Think about the last time you were truly bored. Truly, completely without stimulation for more than a few minutes. Not waiting in line while scrolling your phone. Not sitting in traffic with music playing. Actually bored. In silence. With nothing to do and no way to escape it. For most people reading this, that moment is hard to remember. Because the moment boredom begins to surface, we reach for a screen. And that reach, that automatic, almost unconscious reach, is killing something inside you. A landmark study published in Science in 2014, led by psychologist Timothy Wilson at the University of Virginia, gave participants a simple option. Sit quietly with their own thoughts for 15 minutes, or press a button that delivered a mild electric shock. Most people chose the shock. They literally preferred pain to being alone with their own minds. One participant shocked himself 190 times in 15 minutes. Wilson concluded that the human brain finds unstructured time so uncomfortable that it will actively seek discomfort to escape it. But here is what nobody is saying loudly enough. The reason your brain finds silence so unbearable is not because silence is bad. It is because your brain has been trained, conditioned to expect constant input. And that conditioning has a cost. The cost shows up in research on something called the default mode network. This is a set of brain regions that activate specifically when you are not doing anything goal-directed. When you stare out a window. When you lie in the bath. When you let your mind wander. For a long time, neuroscientists assumed this network was simply your brain at rest, the background hum of a machine idling. They were wrong. Dr. Marcus Rakel at Washington University discovered that the default mode network is not rest at all. It is one of the most metabolically expensive states your brain enters. When your brain drifts, when you daydream, when you let thoughts wander without direction, it is running complex processes. Consolidating memories, building empathy, rehearsing future scenarios, working through unresolved emotional material, generating the connections between ideas that produce insight. The default mode network is where your long-term planning happens. Where your sense of self is constructed. Where you figure out who you are and what you want. And we have stopped going there. Every time you pick up your phone instead of sitting with your thoughts, you are interrupting a process that your brain desperately needs. Not because the phone is evil, but because the phone is too good at what it does. It delivers stimulation so efficiently, so relentlessly, that your brain never gets the signal to switch modes. The boredom alarm fires, and before it can do what it was designed to do, push you into exploratory, creative, self-reflective thought, it gets silenced. Every time. Over time, the alarm stops firing as loudly. You become, in clinical terms, boredom intolerant. And boredom intolerance, according to research by Dr. John Eastwood at York University, is not just about discomfort. It is linked to increased anxiety, depression, impulsivity, substance use, disordered eating, and difficulty regulating emotions. When you lose the ability to sit with boredom, you lose the ability to sit with yourself. And when you cannot sit with yourself, the noise never stops. Now look at what has happened in the last 15 years. Smartphones arrived around 2007. Social media became a daily ritual by 2010. Streaming services made sure there was always something to watch. Recommendation algorithms learned exactly which kind of stimulation keeps you from disengaging for even 30 seconds. And the result, measured across dozens of studies, is a dramatic drop in people's ability to tolerate unstructured time. Attention spans have shortened. The default mode network is being accessed less. And rates of anxiety, depression, and what psychologists call meaning deficits, the feeling that life lacks purpose or direction, have surged, particularly among young people who grew up with constant connectivity. This is the boredom effect. Not boredom itself, but the erasure of boredom. The systematic removal of the very signal that was supposed to keep you curious, creative, self-aware, and alive to the shape of your own life. Consider what you have probably lost. Have you noticed how rarely you have ideas in the shower anymore, or that when you do, it is only in the shower because that is the last pocket of time where you are genuinely without a screen? Have you noticed that it is harder to sit through a film without checking your phone? That waiting, just waiting without filling the gap, feels almost physically unbearable? These are not personality flaws. They are symptoms. Your brain has been reconditioned. The signal has been suppressed. Here is a counterintuitive thing. The people who are best at doing meaningful, original work, artists, scientists, writers, builders of things that last, almost universally describe the same experience. They protect boredom, not as a form of laziness, as a practice. Charles Darwin walked the same gravel path at his estate every day with nothing in his hands and no goal but to think. Nikola Tesla sat alone in darkened rooms for hours before an idea arrived. Einstein described his most productive periods as long stretches of what other people would call wasting time. They were not avoiding work. They were doing the most important part of it. They were giving their default mode networks room to run. The modern world has made this harder than it has ever been in human history. Not because we are weaker than our ancestors, but because the tools we have built are stronger than any tool that has ever competed for human attention before. A campfire is compelling. A story told around it is riveting. But it cannot follow you into every room, vibrate in your pocket, and serve you the exact category of content most likely to prevent you from looking away. For the first time in history, the hunger your brain has for novelty is being fed faster than your brain can process it. And something is going wrong in the gap. So here is what the research is suggesting you do. Not dramatic, not a retreat to the woods. Just this, let yourself be bored. Intentionally, for short periods. Every day, sit in a room without your phone for 10 minutes. Walk somewhere without headphones. Wait for your food without pulling out a screen. Not as punishment, as maintenance. Give your default mode network time to run its processes. Let the boredom alarm fire, and instead of silencing it, listen to what it pushes you toward. That restlessness is not your enemy. It is trying to take you somewhere. Because here is what has not changed in 200,000 years. Your brain, in the quiet, in the unstructured, in the boring, is still looking over the next hill. Still asking if there is something out there you should know about. Still searching for the next idea, the next connection, the next version of you that has not been built yet. You just have to put down the phone long enough to let it find it. And right now, somewhere in your city, someone is sitting in total silence. And they are not miserable. They are thinking. Your brain is still looking. Give it somewhere to go. If this changed how you think about a single quiet moment today, subscribe. There is more where this came from. And if you want to go deeper, this one is waiting for you. Put down your phone after this one.